Christmas Eve was a terrible day for the people of Berkin-Ladi and Bokos in Plateau State. And just to wake up dead for some of them is a sad tale that nobody would ever want to have, which is why we are going to talk about this issue as much as possible, because human life has to be elevated to a point where it is respected and upheld to, as enshrined in our Constitution. Section 33 is very clear on the fact that everybody has a right to life. And that's why I have my guest who will be talking about this development in Plateau State. Joining us via Zoom is a former Deputy Director of the Department of State Services, Mr. Dennis Amakri. Mr. Dennis, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
For having me.
We also have a retired Deputy Inspector General of Police joining us from Jos via Zoom, Mr. Habila Joshak. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Let me start with you, DIG, sir, before I get to Mr. Makri. How did the Plateau move from a tourist haven and destination to now what is considered a killing field in the country? Over 100 people killed in one fell swoop in several communities in those local government. How did we move? How did we get here?
Yes, it's quite unfortunate that if there's any state that insecurity is order of the day, it's not Plateau. But today, again, you've seen that Plateau has some security challenges. And like I said, it's very easy that we have to put some strategies on ground to be able to find out. Because it will be very easy. When you talk about Bokos and you talk about Berkin-Ladi, it is very, very simple. If the right things is done and the right personnel are kept and decision made solid, I'm sure it's going to be difficult for anybody to attempt to do that, because it's just a flat land. It's not far from where I know that childhood and whatever. That is the area we know very well, and it's unfortunate that this incident happened at the eve of the celebration of the remembrance of the death of the birth of Jesus Christ for Christians.
I may have to pose that question, same to you, Mr. Makri. It's difficult because most of the time, Plateau used to be the place we all want to go to because of the atmosphere, because of all of this. But there are lots of reservation as to going to the Plateau because of this development. All you have to do, just like I said in my opener, just take your device and type Plateau. And the things you're seeing are killings and death related. This was not the norm. How did we get here? Same question to you, Mr. Makri.
Thank you for having me. How do we get here? We've been here for a very long time. We've been there for a very long time. More than 14 years ago, that area has been very, very fierce. And I think when you have a problem like this, which is reoccurring, like you called it earlier, you said it's a killing field. For a problem that is reoccurring, I think the best way is to look at the root causes. Why is it happening? And why is it in Plateau State? And when you look at that, you find out that, well, there are some root causes. Of course, we're talking of the ethnicity, religion, the religious diversity that happens there. And then, of course, people trying to take advantage of this Christmas season, because we've had this situation in most Christmas periods. You have all these attacks coming up. So for now, I'll leave it there, and as we discuss, we'll discuss further on that.
Let me still take this question to you, Mr. Makri. The governor, in his remarks this morning, had said that terrorists have been occupying schools and communities for about 5 years now. Is that not an indictment on the Buhari administration that claimed that such phenomena have been obliterated, or even such possibilities? I remember that in taking over government in 2015 and giving themselves a scorecard of how well the government has done is the claim that part of the country, certain local governments, about 17, were occupied by terrorists where they hoisted their flags. But the Buhari administration came and made sure that didn't happen. And things evolved into soft target and all of that. So the issue of occupation of terrorists appeared not to be anything of mainstream that anybody knew of. But this revelation, he said 5 years now, certain places have been occupied by these terrorists. How possible is that?
Again, I'll tell you, it's more than 5 years. Whoa. Because security experts have talked to, on different fora. They've mentioned it that Nigeria is being occupied by some bandits in ungoverned spaces. I'm very sure you've heard that phrase before. And people just hear it and they just pronounce it. And then, of course, the terrorists continue to be there, because we've had bandits since 1915 in the ungoverned spaces of Zamfara, Nasarawa area, down to Kaduna State, Niger State. And these terrorists, or we call it bandits, have been there. Now, there is something the governor said that I'm very, very interested in. He said, if we will have the political will, and that is the major issue, because if we have the political will, this problem will disappear. But apparently, nobody wants to, face it head on, have the political will to face it, so we continue to suffer from it.
Let me go back to you, DIG. Let me come to you, because sometimes it appears that in trying to resolve an issue, if we're not brutally honest, we will not be able to face the issue headlong. The governor has mentioned some things I'll come to. Some people have made claims as to ethnic cleansing. Some people have said it's pure criminality. All sorts of names have been given to these occurrences. What exactly would you describe this as? Are we being brutally honest in trying to solve this problem, or we're just running around, just trying to be politically correct so that we don't inflame anything?
Yes, to me, all those are political jargons. You will agree that Bokos linking Barkin Ladi is just the same axis. And you've also known that there has been insecurity and attacks and counterattacks, destruction of farming equipment and destruction of crops by the so-called unseen headers. And this you've seen yesterday is the same group, because I think once they have something in mind, once there's something that has happened that has not been resolved, they tend to use that opportunity to come and attack. This attack that has happened, there were people, from what we saw, there were people who were also trying to lead some of the bandits that were doing what they were doing. And so for us, I think the government should have the political muscles, as Mr. President said, and as what the governor of the state said. It is very easy for us to be able to take over that place, the security. And it is also very, very easy to resolve that, because it's a flat land. And anybody who wants to do anything around can be seen from a distance. And so it is possible that if we sit on the drawing board, it is very, very easy, if we take the right decision, to ensure that whoever wants to create situation that has to do with killings and destruction of lives and property is brought to book.
The governor actually mentioned the issue of land. I heard him say that over and over. Do you think this also borders on people that may want to occupy land illegally and the people, the residents or the owners of the land are resisting. What do you have to say about that particular issue you raised about land and those trying to occupy the land maybe forcefully?
Yes, I'm sure His Excellency must have also seen some of the past reports and some of the things that happened in the past and is drawing the conclusion. But I'll let you know too that a lot of the headers that are doing what they're doing, they want their animals also have very good food grasses. It's possible to have that, but it is very, very possible that they want to have the area permanently for themselves and chase others away to be able to put their animals to feed and to have very good meat for them to earn a living. It is very, very true that places, they tend to create attack, bring attack and drive people away and burn their houses. It's for them to be able to occupy the place and put their animals, for the animals to have the food that is required. I know that this is one of the reasons why they're doing what they're doing.
So is there no peaceful way to have done that, following what you're saying?
Yeah, it's very easy to do. We've had issues with remember the Benue, remember the Kaduna, remember all these other places, Niger. In Plateau, it is very possible if you sit on the drawing board and bring in all that is desired. It's going to be very difficult for those who bring that attack to do so, because the land is very flat. It's not up to 4 kilometers of where I live or where I came from. And so it's going to be very, very easy for us. It will be easy for security agencies and government to be able to take full control and to apprehend those of them that would want to precipitate crisis relating to getting to killing and maiming of people and destruction of goods and services can be stopped. It can be reduced to its barest minimum.
Let me come to you, Mr. Makri. There's an issue of response time by security agencies. Sometimes these residents complain that the response time perhaps is slow, or they come when these things have been carried out. It's carried out for several hours. Does this border on? It's almost difficult for me to say. Does this border on lack of bravery or lack of capacity or complicity or a hybrid of all?
Well, some of the things you said could be responsible for what happened. I think the military spokesman had said it. You know, the first response, by the time they got there, was about 45 minutes, you know, and they must be coming either from Jos to Bokos, and depending on the kind of transportation they're using, for it to take about 45 minutes to get there. But all the same, you know, response time is very poor. And then, of course, again, when you have these people operating in villages, remote villages like that, we expected that some kind of monitoring system would have been in place. I don't want to say that it is because of what happened in Kaduna that the military is being very cautious, because everybody knows what happened in Kaduna when there was this mistaken killing of civilians. And a lot of people have come out to condemn it. Yes, it's a mistake, collateral damages that would happen, but we should praise our military and security forces. We have to thank them for the services that they are doing for us in the country. So we don't know. For the response time, this time is it's not even preemptive. It was very slow, 45 minutes, we couldn't get it. And then, of course, the casualty was very high.
Let's talk about one other issue that he brought to the fore. When people say political will, as the governor has said, it means a lot of things depending on who you are asking. And one of the things that has been pointed out is why is it difficult to bring people to justice or bring people to book, which the president has actually said, go to every nook and cranny to ensure that everyone responsible for this is brought to book. But this is not the first time the president is saying this. I remember sometime in July or so, just a few months into his presidency, he'd actually said this cycle of killings or carnage has to stop. But it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime. So why is it difficult to bring people to book when it comes to things like this?
There could be some reasons why this is happening. The first one that comes to my mind, again, is political will. You know, the political will is very, very important. The president can say it. In fact, most presidents have been saying it. Remember when we have the bandits, you know, who came into Kaduna and Nasarawa State? The President Buhari said it. Go and get them, root all of them out of the place. But the political will was not there in the sense that there was no political backing. You know, some of these people you've seen were bandits. Bandits were being turbaned. Bandits were getting married. And of course, governors were there. You know, I'm not going to name their names, but I think everybody knows, you know, that these people are sometimes in cohorts with the bandits. And then, of course, you don't go ahead and deal with them. They go to market, they take taxes from people, and nothing is happening. It shows that there is a level of, should I call it, allowance that is being given, you know, to these bandits. We've discovered that they are foreigners. They are not Nigerians. And then, of course, we've discovered that even people have gone to talk to them in those ungoverned spaces. Why are they still in Nigeria? Why can't we get them out? You know, the last time, of course, the military right now is doing a very good job where they have, you know, really taken the war to their doorsteps. And the security agencies are all working in harmony to do this. But we need to encourage them and then have the political will. We cannot say one thing to the public and then, of course, go around and say another thing. It's very frustrating for security agents.
DIG, let me come to you and let's begin to talk about what effort, because everyone looks at the federal government, given the things that each tier of government is supposed to take care of in terms of exclusive list and all of that. Security of the country is a responsibility of the federal government. The state governors are chief security officers. Some of them have said, no, they are just chief logistics officers because they can't control anybody. They just provide things for these security agencies. So since this incident, I know that the Northern Governors Forum have commended Governor Mofsang for his leadership. And I know you are in the know in terms of what's going on. What efforts have been carried out so far to ensure that, you know, this doesn't happen again at the very state level?
Yes, what we should do more from what has been done is that we should not deploy men to places that has had challenges of insecurity, and then within a month or two that has stabilized, you now take them out and open up the place. We need to do that continuously. We need to go back. For the Nigerian police, they need the capacity to be able to go back to the olden days of having a police post, as a police station. As police post is a police station in the remote area where men are deployed and accommodation is provided. And then the police stations and the police divisions in that sequence, so that if there's anything happening within at the interior, within a given area or a state or a community, it will be easy for such police officers to make a report that something is about to happen, or there is a planning for an attempt to disturb the peace of the state. We need to have sufficient men on ground. There are no sufficient policemen around, and so the military are easily deployed when the police haven't had to occupy the place because of the manpower. And with what is happening and with what the government is doing, I think that it will go a long way to have the presence of the policemen in police station, police post, police division, covering up the areas, and then having men who also are in intelligence unit to also complement the other units that are that are responsible for gathering of intelligence. And then we will nip in the bud any attempt that someone wants to do, that criminals want to build an attack.
DIG, fortunately, I think we're having network issues connecting with DIG. So let's head to Houston, Texas, where we have Mr. Makri. Mr. Makri, he has raised the point. I wanted to follow up on that question, but unfortunately, we have that technical problem, the network issues from his end. Does this call for this issue that comes on and off and on, the issue of state policing, at the end of the day, community policing? Because it appears to me the undertone of what he's saying appears to be, look, the people need to be in charge of certain level of security. I mean, the state governors and maybe the local government. Does all of this reinforces the need for us to begin to consider aggressively state policing and community policing expressly?
Thank you very much for that question. When the president came to power, this present president, in his first speech, he said that he's going to have a restructure of the security and, infrastructure. And then, of course, I think majorly that restructure is needed, but in the police itself, because the military is already a structured system. In fact, all of them are structured, but you see, the police itself has carried over that colonial structure that we had. And of course, you cannot get a different result in doing the same thing over and over and over again. Even the police have realized this, and many suggestions have been made about state police, community policing, and all the rest. But like we said, the political will again comes to play. This particular government, before they got into government, I can tell you that they are proponents of state police. As soon as they got into government, state policing is going to the back burners. And as security professionals, it's very, very, very sad, to be watching this happening. Because when a new government comes in, or when they are campaigning, they will say a different thing, and then we don't get this. So when the president said that he wants to do an infrastructure review of the security agencies, I was very, very happy. But that is long in coming up, because the security problems are in the forefront. We should even take care of the security problems before we go to other problems. So there we are. We have to deal with this, and of course, train the police, because right now the police is not even enough. 300 and something policemen for a population of more than 200 million citizens is even below the United Nations recommended figures. So These are things that we should look at, and there must be that political will to address these issues properly.
Let me head to the DIG. DIG, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
When it comes to the issue of security, sometimes people say different areas have their own unique challenges. What are the unique challenges you've noticed, being in Jos, or being from Jos, or Plateau State in general, that if you were sitting with the president one-on-one, you would recommend that, okay, this is the approach we should take to solve this problem under this big umbrella of state policing?
Yes, if I were given an opportunity to suggest exactly what to do as a solution, an immediate solution is looking at the area and do deployment according to needs. Pumping the Nigerian police and other security agencies into that place and equip them. Give out the number that can make an impact. Because when security agencies are in good number and are everywhere, particularly where they are supposed to be, with their logistics, I can tell you, they will nip in the bud those who are planning to create problem and to cause commotion and to disturb the peace of the country. We need to have sufficient officers and men and equipment and be deployed up to the end of the street of the area. In other words, in the rural areas, and that's why I was talking about police post, police station, and police division, as we used to have in the past.
Oh, okay. I don't know, network issues. Let's come back to you, Mr. Makri. This one, section 14, subsection 2A, clearly talks about the responsibility of government, which is to protect lives and property. Eventually, if you paraphrase it, that will be the primary responsibility of government, the security and welfare of the people. If you go to section 33, it has to tell you, it tells you that everybody has a right to life. And now when people constantly see that their lives appear meaningless when they undergo this sort of carnage time and again, it's almost like they are left with no option, because for them, government has failed them and is failing them. So what are the options left for the people of Plateau and some of these places that are prone to this level of heightened insecurity, that time and again people just come and kill people anyhow and go away?
Responsibility of any government, anywhere, even if it is not a democratic government, is the welfare and security of its citizens. And that is something that we have to look at, because every citizens have the right to life, have the right to happiness, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and these rights are inalienable in any country. So, especially for a democratic country like Nigeria. So when people are easily killed, or some bandits are in the country hiding somewhere, and then of course they can come in and destroy or kidnap people and of course deal with them and go away. And then of course we have political statements coming up, we will deal with this, it will not happen again, then I think the citizens are being abandoned when it comes to that. We should have a situation where we deal with it right away, and be seen to be dealing with it. Because when you look at this kind of killings, I don't want it to go like the other ones where there are no arrests, nobody is prosecuted, they've gone back to their area and stuff like that. We should get them out, arrest them, like the president have said, arrest them and prosecute them. If we don't have the presence of policemen in all the local government. This is the time to start thinking about it, because we cannot continue doing this. Just like DIG Abila have said, you need police presence, well-trained police, because as the military goes in and deal with these bandits or terrorists, then the police moves in, take over, and then, of course, enforce law in that area. That's how it works. It is not just going there, hitting them, and then go away. When you go away, they also come back to that same area again, harassing the natives. So it's something that we should start thinking seriously about, because this is like a broken record now. We keep on repeating this issue all the time.
DIG, let me ask you this. Do you think that the people have actually lost confidence in their government to be able to protect them, given what you've seen so far?
You can see when people are so frustrated, some of them want to be owning guns so that they can defend themselves, because they believe that the police cannot defend them. People are, even the regional governments are asking for a Motekun or some kind of vigilante group that will take care of them. Then you discover that, yes, and that's what we are saying. Security, yes, in the Constitution is the responsibility of the federal government, but who is the federal government? The state governments are also components of the federal government. So why don't we balkanize security? Balkanize it in such a way that, because crime happens at the local level, it happens in a vicinity, in a community. So if it happens there, and we are now training people to be more security conscious and police their own areas, then they can minimize crime. But if you don't, and you believe in sending an area commander from Sokoto to Ondo State or a DPO to somewhere, it becomes a problem. Because yes, I know very well of DIG Abila, who has performed very excellently in Lagos, and of course we were all praising him. But it takes how many Abilas to do that? That's the thing, So let's send people who are from that locality to do the job.
All right. Thank you so much, former Deputy Director of the DSS, Mr. Dennis Amakri, who joined us via Zoom all the way from Houston, Texas. Thank you so much for coming on the program. DIG, unfortunately, I will not be able to take more thoughts from you. I understand we're totally out of time. But I must thank you, retired Deputy Inspector General of Police, Abila Joshak. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the program. We appreciate you, and we hope that this will be the last of this kind of incident on the plateau. Gentlemen, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you for having me.